The Cleveland Browns. I don't got a lot of nice things to say about this football team, to be completely honest. And I know that's not what you want to hear in an intro, but I want to be honest. I want to start off this video being as open and honest as I can be. Why? Because I actually do like a lot of the direction the Browns are going towards. They have made really good moves this offseason, building towards a future. The future just isn't now. But today, I'm going to preview the 2026 Browns and really recap the job I think they've done so well this past offseason in the direction this team is going. Because, spoiler alert, I like it a lot more than teams in their own division. So, let's jump into it. The Cleveland Browns had a very eventful offseason. They traded away Myles Garrett, they brought in some offensive line replacements, which was desperately needed if you watched that offensive line unit last year, and overall, they set themselves up for the future. Now, I know a lot of people would start off talking about the Myles Garrett trade and what that means, but I want to get to that second. First off, I want to talk about the offensive line, and I thought the Browns had the worst offensive line in football last year. For as much stuff the Ravens and their offensive line took for the interior offensive line and everything, the Browns were worse. If you watch those two teams play, the Browns clearly could not block anybody. It was atrocious. So this offseason, they went out, they brought in Zion Johnson, Elton Jenkins, they kept Tevin Jenkins. I don't think this makes them a great offense line or even a good offense line. Maybe not even an average offense line. But an offensive line that doesn't make you want to rip your eyeballs out of your skull, which is an improvement in my opinion. Now also, I am a little cautious of paying Elton Jenkins $12 million, 2 years, because he is closer to 31 than he is to 30 at this point. And that's just a big concern because big men don't typically age great. It's really depending on the player, but most of the time they don't. And when the Packers move off of someone, that is a cause for concern. But compared with what the Browns previously had at the position, even a regressed Elton Jenkins is a massive improvement. And Zion Johnson, talk about a guy that was really hyped out coming out of the draft. His draft year, Chargers drafted him. It never worked out in Los Angeles. Maybe there's stuff there. He could be someone you're betting on that this team's not good right now, so let's take a long-term bet. Maybe he works out and you got a guard for the next 5 years and you have a quarterback you're going to draft here sooner than later. You can really build your team around. You have a good guard. You're paying him at a pretty good rate if he bounces out. And if he doesn't, the contract is most likely easy to get out of in general. Overall, really good movement on the offense line, improving that, especially considering just how atrocious it was last year. Now to get to the big fish, and that's Myles Garrett being traded. And listen, I'm not going to lie to you and say it's not horrible that your franchise icon, because he is the best Browns player in my lifetime, and that's pretty impressive considering Joe Thomas was Brown and is a Hall of Famer. But Myles Garrett was a freak of all freaks as a edge rusher. And trading him has to hurt, especially considering there wasn't a whole lot done with him. There was one playoff win, and that happened in the pandemic era. So fans weren't even there to celebrate. And it just sucks. So Browns fans, I understand that aspect. But I don't hate the trade. They got a first-round pick back, a second-round pick, and a third-round pick, and Jared Verse. I believe there's a clause in there or something that they can't trade him back to team the AFC North, or that gets turned into a first or something. I believe I saw that at one point. But overall, I doubt the Rams are going to trade him. He is going to be a Ram for a good while. So let's just look at the package of what they got now. And it's pretty good. Jared Verse is a top 10 edge rusher in the NFL, in my opinion. Now, he's nowhere close as good as Myles Garrett because Myles Garrett is a unicorn of unicorn. He is top tier 1 by a good margin. But Jared Verse is no slouch, and he is young. He is getting better. He's still on his rookie deal, even though he will have to get paid here after this season, most likely. And he's just a really good player, good power rusher. Ironically, very similar to Myles Garrett, of where he is a power rush reliant player, which usually age great. So I really think he's going to be a good Brown for a long time. And the picks are good. You get a first round pick, that's obviously nice, a second round pick, and a third round pick. That 2027 draft class that we all know is being talked about, it is loaded to the gills with first-round talent. Maybe it won't have the depth that this past class had, which too early to tell, But you look at that first round pick, it's going to be a late first round pick unless injuries happen with the Rams, but you're still going to get a really solid, good player, and you can maybe even use that to trade up. Say you're picking at number 6 instead of the top 3 and you want a quarterback. Use that to move up and get that guy if you need to. It gives the Browns flexibility and gives the Browns just the ability to add more talent to this team that needs it. Now looking at the Cleveland Browns draft, they had some picks I love, some picks I don't care for, and one pick I think that is really, really stupid. So let's jump into it. Their first pick was Spencer Fano, tackle from Utah. I liked Fano a good bit. I really wonder if he's a long-term tackle, if he moves into guard. I've heard a lot of talk that that's where some teams preferred him. I don't think it hurts to try him out tackle and move him into guard later because this team, like I said, it's not going to win this year, so it doesn't really matter if you take this developmental year and really figure out what his long-term position in the NFL is. Either way, I think he's a talented player that has a lot of potential to be a long-term starter in the NFL, which is what you want in a first-round pick. Their second pick, and it was another first-round pick, was KC Concepcion. KC Concepcion was a player I loved. His ability to create separation in the line of scrimmage was second to none this draft class. I know there were drop concerns, but I blame a lot of that on the quarterback that was throwing the football because I don't believe Marcel Reed is that good of a player. Now you look at KC Concepcion, his ability to separate, his ability to get open and just really dot people up in his route running is special. And you also have a dynamic returner that can really turn the game on its head. If he doesn't have a big season this year, which I really don't expect him to, he's a rookie in the NFL. The quarterback situation is not great, but I expect him at the very least to show the flashes that I saw in him at Texas A&M's film, and I expect him to show the flashes that will showcase he is a legitimate number 1 type receiver in the NFL. Denzel Boston was someone I was much lower on than everyone else. I really saw Keon Coleman. From the first time I saw him play, I just had Keon Coleman flashbacks. For those who don't know, I was very, very low on Keon Coleman. I had a 3rd round grade on him, and I had a grade that says I would not draft him unless I was a very developmental team that could take years to develop him. I did not like it when the Bills drafted him, but I don't hate Denzel Boston to the Browns because, like I said, they can take that developmental year to really figure it out. Denzel Boston does have talent, yes, but he lacks the separation ability. He lacks route running ability. Those are two things I really don't like in a wide receiver, but he can catch. He's got a big frame. You could utilize him in other ways. If he was taken before KC Concepcion, he was taken round 1, I would have absolutely hated the pick. But round 2, pick 39, this team's not going anywhere this year. You can really develop him. I'm more intrigued. I can't say I love it, but I don't absolutely hate it. Then their other 2nd round pick, Emmanuel McNeill-Warren, the steal of the 2nd round. I don't know why he was there. I had a first round, well, I didn't have a first round grade on him. I had a top 20 grade on him. I loved him as a player. Thought he could be that hybrid nickelback that the Seahawks usually with Nick Emmanwori, and really a lot of NFL teams are going that direction. And nickelback, in my opinion, is so important in the NFL. Emmanuel McNeill-Warren will step in there and just be a demolisher of offenses. Just such a special player. Austin Barber, as a Florida Gator fan, I will speak from the heart and say I really did not care for him as a prospect. I thought he was not a good offense tackle at Florida. And I threw out a lot of film that edge rushers played against him because I thought he was so bad that it was really hard to judge how those edge rushers did. Overall, I really hate this pick. Parker Brailsford, same thing. I didn't like Alabama's interior offense line. I didn't think he was that good. And this is not someone I even see developing. I just don't see it at all with him in the NFL. Justin Jefferson, I am really torn on this because he is a scheme fit. I can very much see him filling in that Browns linebacking room to a T with what defense they're going to run. I just don't see him as a starter, if that makes sense. More of a backup guy. Maybe he can play special teams. I just don't ever see him in the NFL as a legitimate starter. Joe Royer from Cincinnati, I really didn't watch a whole bunch of him. I really don't have an opinion on him. Taylon Green, that's a dart throw. I understand you take it. He's a flashy talent at quarterback position. I wonder if he makes a team. I know you got Shedeur and Deshaun Watson are guaranteed to make the team. Dylan Gabriel and Taylon Green, it's up for debate of who's going to be drafted. Who's going to be on the roster, who's going to be that 3rd quarterback. I would expect expected to be Green, but I don't know if the Browns maybe are going to do other stuff with him. Maybe they view him as a tight end because he is a big body frame. He is a very athletic guy. He can play that role perhaps. And he's a really, really raw quarterback prospect that it really probably wouldn't hurt to try him at the tight end position at all. And then you have a Carson Ryan, who I didn't watch a lot of. And overall, looking at this draft class, I really love Casey Concepcion. I love him as a player. Spencer Fano, I thought he was a little overdrafted, but I see the fit, and I will never complain about a team drafting an offensive lineman that I think is a good football player. Denzel Boston, I was just lower on than everyone else, but I see the goal. I see with what they're doing. Emmanuel McNeil Ward, just home run pick, and then we kind of fall off a cliff for me, and that's really where I struggle with figuring out if I love this Browns draft class or not. I think I'm very mixed on it. I think they have some good picks, and then some picks I just don't see working out, which if you have like 3 hits from this class, that is an absolute win, because hitting in drafts is not easy. It's a very low percentage you're actually going to hit on your picks, and they're all going to receive second contracts. That's just unheard of. So if you get 3 second contract guys in this draft class, it's a great draft. And I can see the Browns having that. Browns did a lot of moves I liked this offseason. But one of them was not hiring Todd Monken. I know Todd Monken is well liked by a lot of people who cover the NFL. I'm not one of those people, because I really think the Ravens would have been to a Super Bowl if they figured out to run the football against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. And many times this past season, how many times did we all look at the TV and say, why aren't you running Derrick Henry? It just felt like JV level of incompetence by him as a play caller. And then you find out more and more about, hey, maybe he wasn't the brains of the operation for Georgia when they won the national title on the offense side of the ball. Maybe there was more to it. Maybe it was Buster Faulkner. Maybe it was a lot of this and a lot of that. And I just come away thinking, he's the sacrificial lamb to get fired when this team sucks, because that's the only logic I can dictate in my head. The Ravens ownership group, which is widely regarded as one of the best in the NFL, told Harbaugh no when Harbaugh wanted to bring him back. That was one of the reasons Harbaugh got fired. One of the most intelligent ownership groups said they don't want Monken. And Jimmy Haslam said, we'll take him and we'll give him a promotion. I just don't get it. I don't think he is that great of a head coach, just in general, because everything you need from a play caller is smart, strategic play calling, clock awareness, who is on the field, player awareness, who do you utilize? And then we're going to entrust this guy to use timeouts, challenges, when we don't trust him to use Derrick freaking Henry with Lamar Jackson out. I just don't see it with him long term, to the point I'm already looking at the Browns head coaching hot board. I'm like, okay, do they maybe fire him after this year? Well, let's see where they're picking. Picking top 2, they're going to take Archie Dante Moore. Yeah, you can. You're going to take a quarterback. Then maybe if you're picking like 5th or 6th, maybe you don't. Maybe you keep him back for one more year. You can really build out this team. And then the following year, you look to draft a quarterback. And, you were bringing in a new head coach then. Like, that's how I view this move, because I think Todd Monken is going to get fired. And it's not going to be because, the Browns set him up to fail. No, I don't think he's a good coach whatsoever at the NFL level. Maybe he can work in college. Maybe that's the case. But I don't look at what he did with Lamar Jackson as anything special. Greg Roman got an MVP season out of Lamar Jackson. Greg Roman. And he is nowhere in the NFL this year. He got fired from the Chargers. This is not a great move. He is not a great play caller, and I think he's going to get exposed in Cleveland. I don't have a whole lot to say in the season predictions. I said my opinion on the Browns throughout this entire video. I don't think they're a good team. I think they're going to suck. I think they're going to be going for a high pick, and that's not a bad thing at all. This team is set up for the future, but the future is not now. They're going to finish last in their division most likely, and they're going to be picking high in a loaded quarterback draft class. Whether they take a quarterback this year or the following year, I don't know. But I do know they're building towards a better future than what they've had. And I say this as a Steelers fan. I think the Browns' future is much better than the Steelers' future. I look at them like 3 years from now. I can see the Browns possibly winning a playoff game or two. I can't say that about the Steelers. And that's a big compliment, in my opinion, when you look at the Browns, that it's rare that you see the direction and you can see it actually paying off. Do they have to hit a couple things that for it to actually hit? Absolutely, but so does every team. But you get that quarterback right with the roster they have together. Quinshon Judkins is an awesome player. Casey Concepcion, I believe, will be a wide receiver one. Denzel Ward, maybe you trade him, maybe you don't. Maybe you just don't want to give him a new contract, and that I fully understand, and he can get you more assets. But if you keep him, he's a pretty good player. They have other good players on the defense side of the football. You got Jared Verse. You have talent. It's just that this team lacks quarterback. It still lacks some offensive line, in my opinion, and it lacks a head coach, also, in my opinion. But we look at the Browns' future. It's pretty bright and should have some hope and optimism. I'd like to say thank you very much for watching this video. If you like this video, hit that like button for new channel, hit that subscribe button if you share this. I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm doing 32 in 32 days, 32 NFL team previews in 32 consecutive days. This is, I believe, the 8th video to go up. There are other previous ones that are alphabetical order. Start with the Cardinals, at the Browns. Sooner than later, we'll get to the Ravens and Steelers for the AFC North. But Browns fans, you want to check out my thoughts on the Bengals? That was uploaded yesterday at the time of this recording. So I'd like to say thank you very much for watching, and I hope you all have an amazing day.